One of the nicer places to find some peace of mind in Mexico City or to enjoy a good vibe is here in Parque Alameda. We're gonna walk the inside of the park, not the whole thing. Just the really peaceful part, but you'll see over there, there's the sidewalks and businesses, really busy over there. We're just gonna go down this beautiful little path here. The park was originally created in, I believe it's 1592. For some of us people from very young countries, the idea of a park existing from 1592 until today might blow your mind a little bit. For a long time, this park was only for the nobility. They had it blocked off. And it wasn't until after, I believe it was the war in 1810 or was it 1921, where the park was opened up. And it's become part of the culture as something that was won through the war, was the right to be here, to be equal, to be noble yourself. Today, families, children will play in the fountains. It's one of the most popular parks. It's big, but it's part of the city landscape too. One of the most beautiful things about Mexico City is that sky. Sometimes I like to imagine that what it must have looked like for the Mexica, the Aztecs, with that huge sky. Mexico City, if you don't know, is somewhere around 8,500 to 12,500 feet. So this lady here, she sits down and next to each person and tries to sell them lollipops. It looks like she's selling drugs, but it's just lollipops. This is one of the first days that felt the most like Mexico City felt before the pandemic. We've had very low numbers. People are back out. God willing, we won't see a huge rise in cases before the vaccine can get through the population. Up front, in front of us, is Bellas Artes. I believe it was built in the 30s or the 50s. Some of the greatest pieces of art are inside of there. They also have an amphitheater for folklore, traditional dancing. Before the pandemic, they did that there. Some days before the pandemic, there would be an orchestra playing, and people could sit and watch it on a big live screen there. And oftentimes you'll see clowns performing here. In Mexico City, when you stand up there, you can feel the ground shaking because it's built, for earthquakes. Before the park was a park in 1592, it was actually one of the bigger marketplaces of the Aztecs. I believe here, and then another major one in the local section of the city to the right of us. I read that Mexico City has tried to stop people from selling in the park, but I think in these economic times that would just be impossible. Not only that, why stop people from working? People have to work, and in Mexico the economy is one where you have to create your own jobs. And I see on the tourist websites the conversation about how it's now illegal to sell, but as you can see, I don't think Mexicans have much of an appetite for trying to tell someone else they can't work. Not only that, where else are you going to get lollipops? Sometimes I think we can try to trap Mexico, and Mexicans do the same thing in the past. History, this park's been here since 1592, but the truth is it's just a great place to come. It's a romantic park. It's a park for your family. It's a park to clear your mind. It's a park just to get away from everything. I mean, for Mexico's a pretty big packed city, 21 million people, but this is pretty peaceful. But I think the history does bring a depth and a life to Mexico City. It makes you proud of the city. For instance, I think this kiosk, it was built and placed here in the 1700s. It's an honor to walk through all this history. As an American, to get to know Mexico, to be part of it. In the past, I remember there was different dance classes that would happen there. Some of the lowrider bicycles park here on Sundays. A lot of our LA homies. Churches from the 1600s, 1700s. Guys learning to roller skate. And always giving credit to the guys who keep it clean. One interesting thing to know about these fountains is that this is when Santana realized he was going to fight a war with the United States, he actually came back and ordered all of these fountains to be filled with alcohol. It didn't work out too good for him, but on that day, he did have an opportunity. I believe it was in 1847 or 48. This was also one of, or the place where the U.S. soldiers who had invaded Mexico, they used this as their campground. It was on the outskirts of the government center. At that time, it was on the outskirts of the city itself. But this is where the troops would rest and live for I believe it was 9 months of occupation of Mexico City. One area of the history is, I'm sure there's many, but is very troubling. This is also the park or the area where during the Inquisition they would burn mostly Jewish people to death. Mexico, for many Spanish Jews, became a place you could get away from the crown. And during the Inquisition, though, if someone appeared to be too Jewish, or there was rumors that they were still Jewish, they would be murdered here. This would also include homosexuals and Christians who were not accepted by the other Christians. And so this area of the park is where that occurred. To the right, I believe there's a convent, or there was the actual area that the trials would occur. But today, according to most studies, Mexico is one of, if not the best country to be Jewish. But this often crosses my mind, especially at the park. So we're going to be, I guess, ending soon. But first, let's take a look at one of the great art pieces of Diego Rivera. This is a replica. The original is to the left around the corner in the Diego Rivera Museum. This is a piece that he called Dreaming of Sundays in Parque, Alameda. And it shows the history of Mexico through the characters that are in the park. And it's a beautiful and complex piece of work. You'll see Frida Kahlo there, holding the yin and yang symbol, and Katrina holding the arm of the person who created her. Diego Rivera painted himself as he was as a child. So if you're going to come visit Mexico, this should be a top place to come to. It's just a stroll in the park. It's a beautiful stroll in the park, but it's also connected to the ultimate long history and beautiful, sometimes tough history of Mexico. But it's beautiful and you should come visit. Have a beautiful day, everybody.